well. So let's get excited. We're talking about the job interview. So today we're going to do a couple of things talking about. So my goal is to talk about to make sure that you know uh, how to prepare for the interview, and then just learn about various types of interviews and how to communicate your best image. We're going to definitely go over that, and how to answer those interview questions. We'll do that by talking about the STAR format. So, first things first, let's talk about interview preparation. So, interview preparation, in your interview preparation, a couple of things are going to be key. And the first key is going to be making sure that you are researching that job or that employer. So, in your research, I want you to put in the chat, which I can see. So, what I want you to put in the chat, what are some things that you think we would need to find out in our research about the employer? Yes, the PowerPoint presentation will be sent out. Yes. What are some things we need to do when we're looking for the company's history? So, when we say the company history, culture. Yes, we want to know the company's culture, their mission statement. It's going to be very important. The worst thing we could do is go to an employer and go for an interview and we do not have any understanding of their mission or their values. We want to know that type of information because you're connecting yourself with that employer. So that should be very important to you. Their reviews. Where does this organization, this employer, where do they rank? What in the industry? Who are their competitors? What are their reviews? Are we checking the Better Business Bureau? We don't want to connect ourselves and to spend our energy into trying to get connected to a company that's going to close as soon as we get there. Company history, products. Yes, you absolutely want to know the products, the service, the company history, the mission, their financial health. That's good too. Somebody put in there for Joe, how much vacation time. Even though you're laughing about how much vacation time, that's also important because you want to make sure that there's some type of work-life balance. Oftentimes, when we look at a job posting, we're looking at that bottom line dollar. This job is paying 20, 30, 40, 50, $100,000 a year, but we have to make sure we also take into account the things that come with that. So if they're offering you your first year in 10 days of vacation, that's a big deal. Most companies don't do that. So yeah, even though you said LOL, I don't know who it was, but it is important. It is important that you also learn that information as well. Their business ethics. Yeah, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now that's a big one. I know, so I can't even jump into that pool, but yeah, you may want to know that information as well. So the reason why we're learning this information about the employer is going to be twofold. One, you're learning about the employer so you can determine how you want to um, how you would gauge how you will benefit from it. And then the other reason why you want to learn about the employer is because it's going to afford you the opportunity to be equipped and ready for that job interview. So what we don't do is tell the employer that, hey, I went in and I searched out everything and I know everything about your company. We're not researching and learning this information to speak like that, but we're learning so that we can have some comfort as we're going to this employer. It has to be something significant. And I'm going to say that it will definitely prep you for that one question. We're going to talk about questions later, but one question an employer may ask is, why did you apply for this job? What made you want to apply for this job? And one of the elements you can add to that is some of the dynamics or some of the things that you learn about the company that made you select that job. Now we know that there's so many competitors out there, but there's a significant reason why you decided to apply for that job. Somebody says hard to find a job that's rebranding. Hard to find a new company or a rebranded company. Oh, there's lots of new employers out there. They come in various sizes, but they're out there. I don't know if they're posting online, but they're out there. So that's just part of your preparation. So, and then also when you need to know your skills that they need. How are we determining the skills that the employer needs? Where are we getting that information from? Put in the chat. Where do we get the information from as we are determining the posting? Absolutely. So some people put in the job description, they're the job description, but we rarely see those right up front. But what we do see up front is the job posting. Now you can get greater details about the job description by maybe going to the company's website, looking it up. But the job posting is going to be a very key component of this because they're going to illustrate the skills that they're looking for. Internet research, absolutely. They're going to illustrate the skills that they are looking for. Now we're talking about this research, and most of the research that we're going to do as it pertains to the company is going to be the internet. So when we're using the internet, we can use it in very many ways. So how are we informational interviews? How our informational interviews are good too if you can get an appointment with someone to do that. LinkedIn is excellent search. So somebody, Steve, he actually beat me to it. I was about to ask you, how are we utilizing the internet as we're doing our research? So somebody said they're using the LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a good resource. What other components are we using of the internet as we're conducting our research? We're using the internet, but what are we Googling? What are we looking for? We have LinkedIn. What else? Indeed. Indeed is also a great source. Glassdoor. Glassdoor is one of my favorites. Somebody say AI agents. So when you say AI agents, I'm guessing you mean CGP chat. Okay, GPT chat. All right. Somebody said Flex Jobs, Rocket Search, Monster. I haven't seen Monster in a long time. I'm gonna have to revisit Monster because I used to use it, but I haven't done that. Somebody said they forgot about Glassdoor. Glassdoor is great. I'm gonna probably bring it up again later. Somebody says, be careful with AI because it's not always correct. Yes, we have management here who teaches us, he teaches a little bit about AI, and he keeps making sure that we as employees of the state of Minnesota know that AI it's not always correct, and you have to know something about the thing that you are searching when you're using AI. And I fully agree with that. So I do appreciate you saying use AI, but it's not always correct. That's good. Google reviews. There's Google reviews. There's the Better Business Bureau. So yes, just looking into those things. Good. So we are looking at some of the same places. Glassdoor. You said a lot of the ones I want to make Glassdoor, LinkedIn. Those are some of my favorites. Now, somebody actually mentioned earlier that you want to look at know their financials, their special websites which you can go to just to find the business financials. Welcome to the job. You want to make sure that you do that. The library is going to be a great place to go if you're looking to do some in-depth research on that employer. And then I'm going to say it's also important to know who their competitors are. And this is information that you already know, and I'm gonna prove it to you right now. So if I said there's one company blue, there's one company red, they're competitors of each other, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I know you know the answers. If there's one company that's color blue and there's one company with the color red, and they're direct competitors of Walmart and Target, Pepsi and Coca-Cola, Target and Walmart, there's some that came up that I didn't even know about. Pepsi Cola and that was a new one too. Normally I was talking about Walmart and Target, but there's some other ones too that are one's blue, one's red, other than Walmart and Target, Sam's Club and Costco, the red and blue. U.S. Bank and Wells Fargo. So you get the gist of it. So knowing that information about an employer is not too stretching too far. It's normal. It's natural. Auto Parts and Napa, Cisco and U.S. Food. I haven't seen those two. I almost told you I know somebody who works for Cisco. They just started working and they just keep talking about. And I can tell you that Cisco, if you want to, I don't know about U.S. Foods, but Cisco benefits are ridiculous. Like they're very good. I've seen somebody who recently got a job there, and they're I've never seen so many benefits available to an employee in my life. But anyway, Pizza Hut and Domino. So we get the gist of that. So just knowing that information. And so that brings us back to knowing our skills. When they say our skills that they need, like they're gonna list them on the job posting, and we want to make sure we're sharing out some of those skills on the on our resume, and then confirming it with the following that up with the with the cover letter when feasible. Following up with the cover letter is good when feasible. So a lot of the time, if you study skills and experience and things of that nature, most employers need pretty much the same thing. I'm going to say that Boston Scientific and Medtronic, the Packers and the Vikings. Okay, funny. Uh, um, when it comes to the skills, a lot of times, almost every employer needs something that's similar, no matter what the job is. There's a couple of key skills that we should possess that no matter where you work, you should have them. So give me one of them. I don't, if you don't, I got one. It's like one that no matter what your job is, you should have this skill. need that skill. Computer literacy. Oh, good. Communication. Wasn't even thinking of those two. What else do we absolutely everybody has to have? Computer literacy, communication skills, customer skills. Punctual is like not a skill, it's a characteristic or something. But yeah, basic computer skills, we need those no matter what job we're doing. Customer service, conflict resolution, time management, organizational skills, listening, phone skills, emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligence is a deep one. Not everybody knows about that, but yes, you do need that. Collaboration skills. So you need all of these are the skills that may come up on a resume or may not, but these are skills that employers, leadership skills. Now let's talk about leadership skills. A lot of times we think that leadership skills is equivalent to being a manager, a supervisor, or a VP or a CFO or whatever. That's not the only people that need leadership skills. It does not matter what your job title is. We all have to have some form of leadership skills. It can just be something like making a basic decision and not running to the manager every day. Say, for example, you work in retail at Walgreens. I don't know why I said Walgreens. I do know. I used to work there. Say you're working at a retail place or someplace like that, and a customer asks you a question, you shouldn't have to go to the supervisor to replenish tissue on the shelf because you know where the tissue is at. So your leadership skills in that position as a regular customer service person is to go get it off the shelf, stock the shelf. That's you taking leadership skills, helping your coworkers. So everybody has leadership skills. You may not recognize it, but you do. Every one of us have some form of leadership skills. Being able to work in a group and being alone. Yeah, you need to be able to do that too. Now, then there is the part about as we're preparing for interview, project management. Thank you. As we're preparing for an interview, we want to make sure that it says like check your attitude. I want us to just be aware of our disposition. Attitude can sound kind of not positive, but is it the attitude, your disposition, your mindset? Or are you in a positive mindset? When we say check your attitude. Say, for example, if you were let go from a job and you're carrying over animosity from that job, it will manifest in your interview. So you want to be very aware of your attitude or your or your mindset. So like employers like to work with people who have positive mindsets. Now, if you're someone who's not positive, you're gonna have to fake it for the first 90 days. No, I'm just kidding. But no, you want to be very positive. Uh, you want to be very positive. They like to work, employees like people who are also positive. Often employers emphasize they can take you if you have a positive disposition and maybe you don't know that particular skill set, they can train you how to do function A, B, C, how to run a computer, how to run a new program, how to do project management components, because we know there's lots of components of that. But what they can't really train you on is your attitude. That's just something that's internal. So you got to make sure that you do something to have that positive disposition. I don't mean be funny, but just be positive. Now, sometimes people could be introverted, so they may come off as somebody who's not friendly, but indeed you're very friendly. But you're just figuring everything out, you're checking everybody out, you're analyzing them, and that's a natural part of you as an introvert, but you still got to come across as friendly and positive. One way you can do that is just smile every now and then, smile, but it has to be genuine. Because if it's fake, it will manifest. It will show that you're faking. So you want to be positive. Just practice being positive. Um, and show some type of enthusiasm. I'm not saying fake, but be enthusiastic and willing to learn new things. How many of you consider yourself to be like a life learner? Like you are open to learning? Are you open to learning? Give me a thumbs up if you can find that little emoji thing. Give me a thumbs up if you're open to learning. Okay, yeah, okay, good. Yes, 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 good. So you want to be open to learning. That would just, I mean, like I consider myself to be a lifelong learner. Like I'm always open to learning new things. I don't want to put on your back your game face, but give it like your best effort. And then like if you are feeling like some type of way, I want you to connect with Career Force or take one of those workshops. I can't remember every workshop I just told you about, but one of the Career Force workshops, it does have a component where we help you to navigate overcoming any animosity you may have for anything. So I almost start teaching that workshop in my mind. I want to teach you all this stuff about forgiving, but yeah, attend all of the workshops. They're all great. And then you want to look good. So what do we mean by look good? Look good just means that it's the basic things that you know about as far as when you're going into an interview, how to prepare yourself, how to look. You're going to have that first impression that you're going to give to the employer. So that's going to be important. I know you already know that, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. I'm going to prove it to you right now that we know how to look good for an interview. So, for example, if we were going to an interview and we were interviewing for a construction worker opportunity, what would we wear? Drop it in the chat. What would we wear if we were going to be a work in construction? What would we wear? What are we wearing? A suit for a construction job. Shirt and tie, business casual. Business casual, jeans and a flannel shirt. Jeans and a t-shirt. T-shirt, I don't know about a t-shirt. Cartwrights, work-related present. So basically you're kind of, most of you are you're getting nice jeans and a nice shirt. I like that. Somebody said no idea. Well, they're giving you the ideas now. You can wear jeans in this particular case may be good. You want to wear casual, button-up shirt, pants, you got it. So the majority of these are good. So let me just switch this up so I can further confirm that you know what to wear and you know how to look good. Now, if you're going to interview for a CFO, I don't know why I keep saying CFO, Chief Financial Officer. So you're going in to be a CFO, Chief Financial Officer. What are you wearing? The khakis and the button-down shirt was good too for the last one. Suit. You're gonna wear a suit. Now, what would you say? And I agree with you guys 100%. So I'm gonna ask you a quick question. And like, what colors do you think are good? So like, would I wear hot pink? Would I wear a hot pink suit or would I wear a black suit? Blue, black, neutral colors. Good. Hot pink would not be an option. So I see the colors coming in: blue, black, charcoal, dark colors. You're all absolutely correct. Now you can, if you're wearing a suit, you definitely can wear a white shirt or a blue shirt. Yeah, somebody said depends on the person. Now let me ask you this: when it comes to fragrance, are we wearing a lot of fragrance to this interview? No, good. We got that. We're going to talk about that a long time. Then the next thing is, so we know there's no fragrance. So when I say you already know how to look good in the chat, you have shown that, you have proved it, it's manifested in the chat. So good. No heavy makeup. Somebody said no heavy makeup. Thank you for pointing that out. All right, good. We are doing great. All right, so then we're doing really good with this interview preparation. Make sure your hair is kept. Now, there's so many different things that you could do to your hair. What about nail color? Nail color, I guess you can wear nail colors or hygiene. Yes, you want to do all hygiene. All hygienes is a must. So whether it's oral or whatever, you definitely want to be clean. Nail polish, I guess because I don't have any on already, that crosses my mind. I think the nail polish is kind of a fair game. I would probably wear something neutral, but I don't, if they're looking at your nail polish, that's a lot. But I wouldn't wear anything outrageous, but yeah, I think that's kind of open. Now, if you're going to the like healthcare field, you know that a lot of those people, they cannot wear nail polish. So, some of them, but, well, supposedly, but I've been seeing them at places with the nail polish on. Somebody said something about, do you need to wear a suit to the office position or just a nice? If it's a regular office position, you could possibly wear a nice dress pants and a sweater, depending on the season. Remember, we gotta, it depends on the season as well that we're dressing in. Somebody said something. Yes. So yes. Okay, so now we talked about preparation. Yes. Let's go on. We're going to talk about now. Is there anything else that you're thinking about when it comes to preparation? Because we're going to talk about the types of interviews right now.
There was one question, Lana, that came in. I don't think my camera's working, so I apologize. It says, should we hide our tattoos?
It depends on the nature of the job. I see people working in a lot of your camera's on. I see you.
Oh, good.
But anyway, it depends. It it depends on the job. I mean, if you're going in for CFO, yeah, maybe try to have them, but a lot of jobs are open to that. They're gonna see them eventually. My thought about tattoos as far as my own children, I would be like, I really don't want to get a tattoo, but make sure it's nowhere where you can see it on your body for an interview. So it shouldn't really be a problem. If you don't have them on your hands, your face, I really hopefully not on your face. That's the one place I told my daughter, don't ever do that. But anyway, your face, your neck, those are areas that they can see. A lot of time people have their tattoos up here or on their legs. That's not a problem. Just put on your clothes. You can come up, wear a sweater. It's good. You don't have to worry about it. So hopefully you have those tattoos that are on your arms up here that look really nice on your arms. Put on a sweater, and that you don't have them on here. Because once you have them on your neck and your face, they're kind of hard to hide. But there's a thing called makeup. That's when you can put on some makeup if you want to cover it up. They have, I think it's conceal or something. Yeah, I probably would just hide them. Just give them less to look at, less to judge you at, because people can be judgy.
Perfect. I think you got the rest of them.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good to see your face. All right. So now we're going to also talk about the types of interviews. Now, there are several different types of interviews. And the first one I'm going to talk about is telephone screening. I'm standing up, so forgive me for standing up. This is telephone screening. So with a telephone screening, and I'm going to say maybe 15 years ago, that may look a lot different than it does today in 2025. Normally, a telephone screening was something that the employer is calling you. They're trying to get some foundations down, and employers use them because they are time saving. And it's a way that they can use to eliminate candidates. Say they have 200 candidates, and maybe they don't want to do that many interviews. They can call some people, and then they can eliminate people utilizing that process. So since we do know that's what employers do, we're gonna make sure that we're not the one getting eliminated when they're doing those phone screenings. So you want to make sure that you have available near your phone, like your resume, perhaps the job posting, and then some. Maybe you have just different documents to help you. That's going to help you during that interview. You want to make sure that the environment is going to be quiet and conducive to interviewing, and because a lot of us put your hands on it. What? Somebody said something about put your hands on your thighs. I'm gonna come back to that because I don't know about that. But anyway, when it comes to Heather, find that put your hands on your thighs. I'm gonna come back to that in just a second. I'm gonna make sure that you're in a quiet environment. And because a lot of us do use cell phones, I'm going to recommend that you have your phone charged. I don't recommend that you do your interview driving down Highway 94. There was a lot of accidents the other day. But anyway, make sure you're not doing your interview while driving. I would highly recommend you pull over, have a quiet environment, and that you do one thing that's going to sound really crazy. What's the one thing you want to do while you're doing a phone screening or interview? That might sound crazy, but if you ever worked in a call center, you're gonna know the answer to this. What is the one thing that we need to do that may sound different? Smile. Absolutely. Somebody worked in a call center. Smile. You want to make sure that you're smiling. Now, I know that's really sounds different to those who've never worked in a call center, but all of us who have, we know that we've been taught that. You want to make sure when doing your phone interview that you're smiling because it's going to make you sound, there's been a study done. It's going to make you sound friendly, happy, or whatever. So smile doing, even though there's no cameras, you still want to smile during, of course, the phone interview. And then make sure that you're listening. Somebody put that in there too. Know if your camera is on. Your camera should be on the phone interview, but you know what? This 2025, we have iPhones, and you can maybe do that. I don't know how you would do that. Anyway, yeah, make sure your camera's not on because I have an iPhone here, but I've never mistakenly turned it on, but maybe that person has. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in there. Yes, make sure the camera's not on if it's a phone interview. Turn off your phone. Then also for a phone interview, you want to make sure that you're listening to the interviewer, and so that you can give the answer and make sure that you're giving complete answers, just like any other interview. So smile, try not to interrupt. Somebody said don't interrupt, so I'm just going to go with that. Make sure that you're not interrupting the person, because sometimes we want to get our point across so much that we don't listen to the question. We just come right in and start giving the answer. So we don't want to do that. Make sure you're getting yourself prepared for that particular interview. So sometime too, along with that, after the telephone screening or telephone interview, there is something that's not necessarily mentioned is the virtual interviews. The virtual interviews, where you're using What are you using? You're using, I'll let you tell me. We're using Teams. Yeah, Zooms and Teams are a lot of the virtual interviews. So with that, you want to make sure that that's working, and they are going to be very similar to the telephone interview, with the exception of now, yes, your camera's on, and you know that your camera is on, so you want to make sure that your background is clean. So right now I'm using the Script thing, but my background is clean if I took the screen thing. Make sure that your background is clean. Last thing you want to do is have your background to show up and it's cluttered. I'm not hiring you, and they probably won't hire you either. So make sure that it's a very clean background. Also, with the having those virtual interviews with the Teams, the Google Meets, and things of that nature, you want to make sure that you check all of your devices. Make sure that it's going to work. Make sure you do that, and then also same thing with the phone interview. Make sure there's not going to be any interruption. Communicate with those who live with you, that they don't come and interrupt you while you're doing the interview. And make sure that what's behind you is not revealing of anything that the employer could normally not ask you. Like, don't have pictures of your wedding, don't have pictures of your beautiful children. I know they're beautiful, but don't have them in your background. Anything that would display your religion or your political standing. So those are things you don't want to have visible to the person who is conducting the interview. So keep that in mind. So now let's talk about in-person interview. Yeah, check background. So let's talk about in-person interviews. So this says in-person screening, but that's the thing that we're all accustomed to. That's been going down for the last 50 years. We all know about that. How you go into the interview, you want to provide them with a firm handshake, but after 2020, I don't know if we're doing handshakes anymore. I personally am not shaking anybody's hands, but if they offer the hands, I guess you got to shake it. Just make sure you have hand sanitizer in your on your belongings so you take care of yourself right away. So you want to get them the firm handshake, and that's because your handshake is going to show that you have confidence. Now, if I could physically, I would go around, check your hands in 2019, and make sure your handshake is good. Putting your hand right in, not too much, not too little, not like a little wet noodle. So your handshake says a lot. So practice with your family members. If you end up going to an in-person interview, practice with uh, anybody that you have available to you. So I don't know, they don't have to be family. They could be friends, family. You could meet somebody at the grocery store, but try to practice that handshake before the interview if it's in-person interview. Also, you want to make sure for for the in-person interview that you are also having those things that you would have for the phone interview, as far as your resume, maybe have a portfolio and things of that nature. Heather, are there any questions before I go to the next one?
Yeah, there are a
Okay,
couple.
so next,
Oh, sorry.
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, my video, it's trying to come on. I don't know what's happening. The question is, how does the prep for a phone screen interview differ from an actual interview?
I'm going to say that the prep is the same, because the preparation that you're doing is the foundation for whether it's a phone interview, a virtual interview, or in-person interview is going to be the same. The research that you're going to conduct, making sure that you have your resume and job posts and things of that near you, all of that's going to be the same. That's not going to change. The only thing is you're going to smile on the phone interview, you're going to smile on the in-person interview, and you're going to smile at the virtual. So it's all going to be the same regardless of the type of interview. I see somebody said, okay, is there another question, Helen?
Go ahead.
No, I see somebody is talking about in the chat about sweaty hands, and they say they wash their hands and they put powder on it. Okay, make sure you get the powder off. You don't want it to stick to the other person's hand. But yeah, that's a good thing. My hands don't sweat. That's probably meaning that you are just a little nervous. I also want you to take some deep breath and speak positive affirmations to yourself to help you calm down. That should also help with the sweaty hands as well. Is there another question?
No, those were the two that I had.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So now we're going to move on to the selection. Now, the selection interview to me is very similar to the in-person interview. Is when the interviewer or the employer is conducting a session to make a decision. That's the same thing to me. Positive affirmation in the mirror before. Absolutely, I believe in that. Yes, conducting the interview is to me the same as in-person screening, where they're going to make a decision as to who they're going to select for the job. So they're very similar. And then, so that's your chance to go ahead and build up a rapport with the interviewers. I don't know, to see, answer critical things as it pertains to that job. But again, that's very similar to me as the in-person screening. And one thing that I did not mention, but I always mention in the longer interview class, is that just to give you a little bit of hint, that once the employer has selected you for an interview, they've already deemed you qualified. It's just a matter of not if you're going to be the good fit. And when you're talking about a fit, it's not a one-way street. They're determined if you're a good fit for that team, and you're determining they're a good fit for you. It's not a one-way street. It works both ways. You have a little bit of power. You have power in it too. You have to decide if that's what you want to be at. So yes. Then there's the behavior interview questions. The behavior interview is kind of like the hardest thing because you want to be prepared for that. But I used to ask people, hey, come up with 4 or 5, 2 behavior interview questions, answers. So today I'm asking for 5. I don't know why. 5 just seemed like a good number for me. So a behavior interview question is when the employer is asking you, tell me about a time when. They're trying to determine your predicted behavior based upon your past behavior. How did you do something? How did you manage something? How did you complete a task? Your personality? How did you handle conflict and things of that nature? So you want to make sure that you have prepared an answer to that. And that answer is going to be in the STAR format, which we're going to talk about because it's coming up soon. So we will address that. They may want you to tell about time when you overcame stress and things of that nature. Then you definitely want to be ready with that, with the STAR story. Now, I know it's coming up later, but I just want to talk about it. What does the S stand for? For STAR. I know somebody heard of it, STAR. If you're telling a STAR story, what does the S stand for? Somebody? Situation. Good. So what does the T stand for? What does the T stand for? Come on. Good. And then the A, task was correct. And what does the A stand for? Action. And then R, it stands for what? Result. So resolution is the same, but I'm looking for the word result. By definition, it will probably be the same answer. So basically, that's what the STAR is. So basically, when the employer is asking you something, you want to have what we call STAR stories prepared, where you tell the situation, the task, the action, the result of an event that occurred. You want to have those readily available, like don't wait till you get there. Maybe come up with 5. That's homework. I'm giving you homework. I give homework, yes. I need you to come up with 5 STAR stories so that you will be prepared for your next interview. And we're going to definitely give you out the situation, task, action, and result. If you don't remember that, it should be part of the PowerPoint. It's coming up shortly. But homework, 5, I want you to come up with 5 STAR stories so that in the event they ask you, you'll have it. What I would like you to not do is memorize it. My goal is not for you to memorize it, but just so you can have something to reflect back to, something that's in your mind, that maybe there's a keyword that's going to help you to tell out that story. Also, I want to caution you not to say the word situation, task, action, and result. Don't say what the situation was in the task, don't do that, but give it without actually giving those pre-words before that. And yeah, make sure you do that. And that's going to be the behavior interview. And then there is the work sample interview. And that's pretty easy. They just want to see some samples of your work. Now, if anybody is anybody in sales or anybody who's in training, sales or training? If you're in sales, give me a thumbs up. I don't see that emoji either. So just put sales or whatever, training or sales, training or sales. So if you're in training or sales, if you're in training, you may be asked to do a presentation. If you're in sales, you may be asked to do a presentation. In addition to doing that presentation as someone in sales, they may ask you for, it's 3 numbers. What is it? If you're in sales, you know the 3 numbers. People in sales, they usually ask you for 3 numbers. Do anybody know it? Okay, no, 30, 60, 90 days. So sometime when you're in sales, the employer they ask you for a 30, 60, 90 day plans when you're in sales. However, that is highly used in sales. but it doesn't hurt us, the rest of us who are not in sales to also have some idea of a 30, 60, 90-day plan of how we will function in that job. It also is a good way to ask them a question. So we'll talk about that a little later when we get to questions. So yes. So your work sample may include you actually doing a task. And then another thing is when you're giving out work samples, I want you to be very careful not to share any protected information from your former employer. You want to make sure that you're not sharing out any information from your former employer. Okay? Keeping in mind, they already tested you on everything else when they did the behavior, if you did the behavior interview part, because they're looking for the conflict resolution, problem solving, adaptability, and teamwork. They've already done that. So now they're just trying to see what you've done and what you could possibly bring to it. So if you, they can even ask you about particular software, things of that nature. So then there is the peer and group interview. Now, the peer group interview is pretty good because this is the opportunity for you to be interviewed by those who you're going to be working with. So I think that's a dynamic opportunity. You should take that. Sometimes they give you a tour of the company as well, but being able to meet the people that you could potentially be working with is it's a great thing because then you can decide if you like them or not. You might not want to work with them. So that's a good thing. So to have that, not just a supervisor, not just HR, not just a recruiter, but the people you're going to be working with. That's what's happening in that peer interview. And then there's also the group interview. And this is when an employer is looking to hire like a number of different people. So what they do is they interview several candidates to assess them. And it doesn't mean that they're going to just hire one person. A lot of time they're going to hire more than one person. One key component of that is to make sure that you are, if they ask somebody to, before you one question, they're probably gonna ask you the same question. So if you can overhear the questions, get yourself ready so you have time, extra time to prep for that question. But don't get nervous, it should be fun. All right. They want to see, also, they're gonna check and see if you're a team player. Do you compliment other candidates? I don't know if I would probably do that either. I don't know. And then there's other types of interviews that I do mention at the other workshop, but that's not necessarily listed here, which is the social interview. Like if you have a luncheon or things of that nature, you want to make sure that you're focusing on the interview and not the pasta. I get deeper into that in a different workshop. So now, Heather, are there any questions?
Yes. One, what about asking peers about the culture?
Absolutely, you can ask the peers about the culture because you want to take advantage of the fact that you are there with them, and you can find that out. So yes, I definitely, that's a good one. Yeah.
Perfect. That was it.
All right. Thank you guys for doing such a great job at participating. This says have questions right now. Oh, you guys are giving each other good advice too. I see that in the chat. All right. And then so now we're going to communicate our best image. You want to send good signals. Now, one thing about this communicating our best images is when it says send good signals, they're watching your body language. Okay. So you don't want to say, so this is gonna be hard, but I'm gonna do it. You don't want to say, I absolutely want to work here. I would love to work for you. I'm not trying to take over your job. I'm not trying to take over your job. So you see how it's hard for me to do it because I'm trying to do it. But your nonverbal clues can give you away. So if I'm saying, I'm not trying to take over your job, that means I am trying to take up your job. I'm saying I absolutely want to work for you, but my head is saying I don't want to work for you. So you have to be careful with your nonverbal clues. Somebody said something about sitting on your thighs. I think that was for a virtual interview. Putting your hands between your thighs. I don't know about that because that could come across looking a little weird. But so I'm not backing it up. I have to see the question again before I address it. But so your nonverbal cues, making sure that your head, your nonverbal cues match up with what you're saying and not the opposite. That's going to be very important. Watch your hand gestures, your posture, or don't slouch. It's like all those things. Okay, look a bit more relaxed. Okay. Also, eye contact. Somebody dropped that in the chat and they put an explanation point on it. I agree with you. Your eye contact is going to be important. Now, eye contact, like for example, when you are in the panel interview, that's a good break. Instead of looking at one person, you get a chance to look at several people. And so eye contact. You want to smile, you want to give eye contact. Yes. You want to do something. Then also the show and tell. The show and tell part is them being able to see your. Somebody said, "Do you have a sample question?" Yes, we're going to talk about questions shortly. So you're sending good signals is very important. It's like more than 80% of your communication is nonverbal. So be aware like your facial expressions. You can smile, you can roll your eyes. I mean, don't roll your eyes. Be aware of your facial expression if it's all feasible. And we already talked about the fact that if you have to shake their hands, that should be a firm handshake. Now, some people have little bitty hands, such as myself. So if you have big hands, don't squeeze it till you hurt the interviewer, because then that's gonna probably not send the right signal. You want to send confidence, but not I'm trying to hurt you. So be careful with that. Um, and then you want to avoid things that may, you do want to break, like you want to have eye contact, but you want to have a break in that eye contact, so you don't come across as maybe a little, I don't want to say creepy, but different. You don't want to look like you're staring them down. You want to look friendly. And then also you want to like finish strong. When it comes to finish strong, you want to make sure that you're wrapping up and summarizing like your strengths and your qualities. And it's most important is that you never give up the opportunity to ask the interviewer a question, where somebody already put in the chat, which was, do we have questions that you can ask the interviewer? Says somebody asked that question. I seen it pop up, but now it's gone. And somebody put some link in there. Good. So yes, it is very important to make sure that you ask the question at the end of the thing, and then somebody shared out a link that I haven't confirmed, but it says 64 tough interview questions, and I'm guessing the answers is probably with that. I don't know. I haven't clicked on it. But so yeah, check that out. I don't know what it is. But yeah, you do want to ask questions at the end of the interview. If you don't, it would appear that you are not interested in it. And if you can, I'm gonna copy that link out of there too. If you can copy that link out of there and check out what those questions are, yeah, that'll be good. Thank you note. Oh, we're gonna get to the thank you note in just a moment. And then the follow-up. So when we're talking about the follow-up, that's where the thank you note come in at. Um, you can send in your thank you letter. It could be in the form of an email. You can leave a voicemail, which is very unpopular. I don't recommend that strongly. You can have the actual cards, the actual thank you notes. If you decide to use the actual cards for your thank you note, I would highly recommend that you don't have them pre-written on your way out, because your thank you note to me and for us today is an opportunity for us to uh, re-advise, reinforce, or let that employer know that you're the best candidate. And what better way to do that is while you're thanking them, remind them of the things that they're looking to establish by filling that position, and how you are the answer to that solution. So you want to utilize your thank you notes as an opportunity to share out with the employer. You're thanking them and it's genuine, but also remind them why you are the best candidate for the position. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next one. So that's the follow-up. Now, when it comes to the follow-up as well, you can maybe call the employer and find out what's going on, but don't be stalkerish. Like, don't keep calling them. You might want to just move forward. And then there's something too. What happens when you get that like rejection letter, or they tell you that they picked another candidate? You can send them another thank you, saying thank you for updating me, because not every employer does that, and letting them know, keep you in mind, and things of that nature. So that's a new practice I want to start making sure. We also don't forget, yes, send a thank you note, but then once we get the letter, which we feel as a rejection letter, it's not a rejection letter, it's just they selected a different candidate. Doesn't mean you wasn't the best candidate, they just selected somebody else. It could be 100 reasons why they selected somebody else, but don't take it personal. That's the key. Don't take it personal. All right. And just keep moving forward with your next opportunity. Uh, Thanks for rejecting me. It would be a little bit more than just thanks for rejecting me. This is another chance to build a rapport with that person. Say, for example, they rejected you, but we won't use that. Was thank you for the opportunity to interview with you. It was a pleasure meeting you. Keep me in mind going forward. Something similar to that. And it happens that sometimes the first person may not work out. Maybe they selected candidate A and you're candidate B, and candidate A got there, didn't work out, then they call you. So it can happen. Or they come up with another position that's very similar to the position that you applied for, and then you get that position. It can happen. It also say they decide they're going to expand. They can pull you in. They don't have to do all the work. They could just post it out there, not interview anybody, and give you the job. Sounds like that happened. It has happened before. Yes, so it's good to remain cordial with those people. They may have a resource or have a connection for you later. Build those networks. Build up a network. Sorry, I had lip gloss. My lips was anyway. So yeah, build up your network that way as well. So now, look at that. Somebody else has had that happen to them. They said that that happened to them where the person didn't show up and they got the job. Yeah, that's a good job. Yeah, that's good to know. So it didn't just happen to me, it happened to somebody else. I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. I don't know how y'all found the little fire emoji, but it's cute. All right. All right, let's see here. So now we're going to talk about handling the tough interview questions. Did it come up? Yes. So handling the tough interview questions. So sometimes they may ask us tough interview questions, but they won't be tough for us because we're gonna be prepared with the star stories. So and we're gonna know how to answer the questions. So anyway, so normally we would say like sandwich the positive with the negative and then the positive. I like for us, if at all feasible, to stay positive and just answer the question. One way to stay positive is not reiterate a negative term. Say, for example, they say, "What is your greatest weakness?" Well, and there instead of saying, "Well, my greatest weakness is," don't own that. Let's not do that. Say, "Well, area that I noticed that I am working on is I'm excellent at Microsoft Office Suite, with the exception of maybe Access. Currently, I'm taking training with Career Force to also bring that particular part of the suite up to par so that I could be excellent at all of them." Something similar to that. Okay. And make sure that if they ever ask you, an employer asks you about the greatest weakness, never share anything that's pertinent to you actually doing the functions of that job. They'll say, "Well, I would love to work here and be your customer service person, but I really don't like people." That would be really crazy. Don't say that. So make sure you're never saying anything that you need to perform that job. If they ask you a weakness, it cannot be something that's going to eliminate you. Don't eliminate yourself. I want you to anticipate those questions and then like just be prepared. We know some common questions is what is your greatest weakness? We're going to talk about the questions in a minute. Be positive and honest. As I aforementioned, employers are looking for positive people, and be honest. Keep your questions brief. Try not to ramble. Because once you give the answer, if they ask you one question, give them one answer. Don't give them 15 answers for one question. And then plus they may ask you a question later. So say that second answer for the next question and focus on the skills. Okay. Try to stay focused on your skills that you have to offer that employer. All right. The next thing is the situation, task, action, result. We talked about this already, but this is what it looks like. So when I say that it's going to be in a PowerPoint, it is. The situation is you're going to provide them an example of the situation that took place. Then you're going to tell them the task. Give them a description of what you did to to take care of that situation. What it was, and then what was the action? What action did you take to bring that thing to fruition? And then what was the result? What was the result of the situation, task, action, and result? Now, a lot of people are used to the star, and if you want to just maybe next level this, you can make a start. And then that last T will stand for the takeaway. What did you take away from that? So keep that in mind. Work on that. And how many did I ask you to do for homework? Drop it in the chat. How many star stories are you going to do in preparation for homework? Great. You don't have to call us or nothing. You don't have to send us an email. This is a trust. I trust you 110% to get it done. If you putting 5 in here, then I know you know what to do. So thank you for doing that homework in advance. Somebody said 10. Okay. If you come up with 10, send that to me because I need to see that. No, I'm just kidding. 5 is good. Just in the event you have that. So you're prepared and you're not memorizing it. You're just gonna have something to speak to. All right. So the next thing is somebody asked about this, which was the questions, interview questions. These are questions that the employer could potentially ask you, which is tell me about yourself. If the employer asks you to tell me about yourself, you're going to tell the employer about yourself as it pertains to your skills and your education in accordance to the job posting. Okay. I think I kind of messed that up the one last interview I did. They asked me something similar because they don't always say, tell me about yourself. They may say something else that's similar to that, but make sure that you give them the answer to your experience and your education as it pertains to the position. I mean, to the position. Yes, I meant to say that. Why are you interested in working for this company? Very important. Be prepared to know why you're interested in working for that company. Remember, you did your research, so there's a reason why you're interested in that company, other than you like the bottom line that they projected to tell you how much they were going to pay you. There's something else that stuck out. Be prepared to answer that. They may also ask you, why do you want to? It's very similar to why are you interested in working for this company? Why did you apply for this job? That's very similar. What made you want to apply for the job? Be prepared for that, those questions. They're very similar, and I was asked that before recently. Then the next thing is, what is your major weakness? Now, again, we're not reiterating any negative words, so you can say in an area in which I am working on, and just tell what it is. Keeping in mind that you have to have a solution to it. So if your weakness is assets, you have to have a solution to that. So whatever you share out, it can, one, not be related to it can't be relevant to the job you're applying for. And then two, you have to be working on how to overcome it. And three, let's be serious. It's a job interview. Don't say your greatest weakness is chocolate. That's not my weakness. It's popcorn with caramel and chocolate on it. But anyway, your greatest weakness, it cannot be like, you can't say popcorn with chocolate and caramel. You have to say something that's job search like related, but not something that's going to eliminate you from the job. What is one of your strengths? So that's kind of crazy, because it said one of your strengths and it says strengths explore. So we might, if we didn't hear that question properly, we may give several strengths, but it says one of your strengths. So give only one. Be careful with that. Can you give an example of how you solve a problem? All employers are looking to make sure that we are analytical and we're problem solving. No matter what the job title is, we have to be able to solve problems, be able to give that example, be prepared to do that. And where do you see yourself in 3 years? Now, 20 years ago, I used to say, I'll see myself doing your job. Don't do that. I'm older now. I would never do that. So you want to have an actual answer as to where do you see yourself in 3 years. The goal is to see yourself in 3 years. If you looked at doing your research and you looked at the job description, it may have a natural progression. Some employers give you that information, how you can naturally progress from one position to the other position. A lot of private companies, I don't know how well that works for a government, but for private companies, they will definitely most likely give you a progression of where you can target and where you can expect to see yourself. So say that you are a representative one, maybe you want to see yourself as a representative three in 3 years. So just keep that in mind. Do that research so you'll be prepared if they ask you that question. Now, if time would have permitted, I would try to find out what you're being asked, but I got 4 minutes and I don't know how, that's not a lot of time. So let me get right here. Is why did you leave your last job? So basically, you want to be prepared in the event that the employer asks you, why did you leave your last job? And you want to be able to give an answer. Now, I can't find out who got fired on here. And I don't want you to tell me, because everybody can see the chat. But for those, if anybody ever have been released or fired from a job, I need you to connect with Career Force so that we can help you work through that. Because there's things that you that you want to do and how to navigate around that. So, and how you frame that. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because I don't know if anybody been fired. If you have a medical restriction, how do you tell them that? That's a good question. And you want me to tell you the answer? You don't. You do not share out your medical restrictions with an employer. Um, you don't share it out. Now, if you need an accommodation, that's different. You can definitely request an accommodation. There's nothing wrong with that, but you don't share out your medical things. You can ask for a workplace accommodation, but you don't share out medical things. Like, yeah, try not to do that. Company shut down, you definitely can tell an employer if the company shut down. And somebody said something about stealing from my 401, employer was stealing from my 401k. So here's the thing. Even though that was painful, I'm sure you're mad because that's your money. How you gonna get your money back? You wouldn't share that with an employer, because employers, they relate to employers. Now, the employer that you're gonna work for next won't be a thief, but you still don't want to ever say anything negative about the previous employer. So don't share out that they stole your money, because you may say, yeah, don't share that out. You can tell me, you can tell us, because we're family for the next 2 minutes, but don't share that out to the next employer, because it's going to come across as negative. All right. And downsizing older workers. Do not, please, 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 please. Please do not say downsize older workers who have been there a long time to avoid paying benefits in retirement. Here's the thing. If an employer lets you go, legally they can't let you go because of your age. There may be some dynamics around it. Say that they're making a financial decision. And if an employer is making a financial decision, it may appear that they're letting you go because you're older. You're expensive is what you are. So if you've been at a company, the longer you've been there, the more money you're making. So you just happen to be the most expensive employee that they have. And for business reasons, they may let you go because you cost a lot of money. Now I can overshare some stuff about money and companies letting you go, but I won't go that far. But keep in mind, don't take that personal. Don't think that they're downsizing and let you go because you're older. You're expensive. You have the most experience, and financially, that may be the reason. If I was working in the business office and I'm getting rid of some people, I'm gonna get rid of those people that's making a lot of money. So you've been there for 30 years and you're doing the same thing that somebody that started like maybe a week ago. They're not making the money you're making. You're probably making double of what they're making. So it's a financial thing. It's not just strictly, it's not your age strictly. I don't even know the company, but I know for a fact it's financial reasons around it. You have the most experience, you make the most money. So it's a financial thing. So don't take that personal. And then I love the fact that this person said the position was eliminated. Sometimes when a position is eliminated, we take that personal as they eliminated you. They did not eliminate you. They eliminated the position. I love that. And I don't want to get in trouble for going over. I don't know what time it is. I don't see my clock. So I think, oh, we got 1 more minute. Good. I didn't go over. So something is, the last thing that we're going to talk about was post interview steps, which you want to maybe recap. And I already talked about sending out that thank you notes and how pointing that. So we really didn't miss anything. We're right on point because I already talked about making sure you thank them. So we're all good. And then I would say, was there any questions? And we're right at 11 o'clock, but